Wow. Teddy and Alex, those were some real strong divrei Torah. You are each national treasures of the Jewish people, and certainly treasures of your families, and you've made us all extremely proud this morning as you chanted Torah and Haftorah, and also obviously as you offered those words of Torah. You each had pretty different takeaways from this parsha. But as we all saw, each of you brought your full selves to this work, to this parsha, and noted specific difficulties for us as modern Jews, both of which I want to spend a little time unpacking this morning. Teddy, I'll start with your teaching from just now. In your drash, you exemplified the time-honored Jewish tradition of taking God to task, which you really did. Even questioning if God is really all that good. Pointing to commandments with harsh punishments, you asked, what's the difference between having no choice under Pharaoh and having no choice under God? If the people have to follow hundreds of rules, isn't that just a different kind of enslavement? And this is actually a very fair question to ask. Unlike our American legal system that describes rights and freedoms, the Torah speaks in the language of obligations and commands. But where is the freedom in that? Where is the agency that you'd expect from a people newly freed from bondage? Even when God frees the Israelites from slavery, God's intentions are clear. We read in Exodus, "Let my people go so that they may serve me in Egypt," or in the wilderness, not so that they can be free to live or build a society as they please, but effectively to become slaves to God. Intriguingly, we get another hint of this when we encounter the word we often use to describe God, that is our Redeemer, our Goel. We throw that word around in religious settings so frequently that we don't actually usually think about what it really means. And it turns out that it has to do with ownership more than salvation, like redeeming a coupon. Really, it has that connotation in Hebrew, as if God owns the Israelites after essentially buying them from Pharaoh. But if that's the case, how can the people really see themselves as free? You answer that question, Teddy, with an important and generous possibility, that the harsh treatment that God has imposed upon the Israelites might not be the end goal for Israel or God's idea of what society should be. But instead, these laws could be some kind of placeholder, guidelines for the people as they continue to pass between slavery and freedom. And that, I think, is a very compelling answer. This week's Torah portion, as we know, is called Bamidbar, meaning in the wilderness. And the people are very much in between. Their story and these laws are therefore useful to us when we consider ourselves right now existing in our own kind of in-between. Even though we think of ourselves today as free, we hardly live in a world that is redeemed in the sense of being saved or more whole or at peace. Like the Israelites Bamidbar, we too are in transition, as Jews, as Americans, and as human beings. We imagine ourselves as much more evolved than our ancestors, but if we believe in a future that's better than this one, we are actually still in between, which can, of course, be frustrating. And yet, there may be a benefit to this in-betweenness of our world yet unfinished. Perhaps in this transitional state, we might be able to see what we want for our future and find a way to enact it. We may learn more deeply who we actually are and find a way to celebrate it. And there, I think, is where we come to your teaching, Alex. You pointed out that in this parsha, the main plot line entails Moses conducting a census of the Israelites. But very importantly, as you said, women are excluded from this counting. We've got 603,550 men and fewer than 10 women named in the book of Numbers. It turns out that this is an auspicious Shabbat for you to raise this dilemma. Tomorrow night, as we heard, as we know, we will begin the holiday of Shavuot, when we ritually reenact the moment that the Israelites received the 10 Commandments and agree to be in covenant with God. According to that part of Exodus, all the people were gathered at the foot of Mount Sinai, and they had to purify themselves to get ready to receive the commandments. But then, as part of the instructions for them to purify themselves, Moses tells them, do not go near a woman. It's kind of a bummer. Here, at the iconic moment when the people encounter God, the Ten Commandments moment that we've seen represented over and over again, the text is clearly addressing only men and not the entire people of Israel. This episode in Exodus is a pretext for a famous book by the theologian Judith Plaskow titled Standing Again at Sinai, in which she treats the same question that you do. As she points out, half of all Jews have been women, but men have been defined as normative Jews, while women's voices and experiences are largely invisible in the record of Jewish belief and experience that has come down to us. Like you, Plaskow argues for a course correction, finding ways of recovering voices that had been silenced for generations, reading Torah through a feminist lens. Only when we've reclaimed all that has been lost to us can we speak of a Torah temimah, a Torah that is perfect. We can extrapolate from there using this teaching that if we are really going to understand the Torah, its rules, stories, and theology, then we have to study Torah through as many lenses as possible from all the lenses among our people. We miss out on half the Torah when we ignore the experiences and commentaries of women, and we likewise miss out on Torah when we ignore the voices of any marginalized group of Jews whom we have previously silenced. As we find ourselves now still in between, somewhere between the degradation of the past and a future that we hope will be better, maybe one thing we can do is try to amplify as many voices as possible in Jewish communal life. If we're lucky, we might find in this wilderness the space to consider which essential voices have been missing from our people's public discourse. Tying both of these teachings together, Teddy and Alex, perhaps we can say that freedom in our tradition isn't really about the absence of a power over us, especially given our traditional belief in God. Rather, what it means to be free as a Jew is to have the freedom to find our own voices in the text, to work within the confines of what we inherit, find ourselves somewhere, and insist that our unique perspectives both exist and are essential in our communities and in the world. That they can help us all in the aggregate to be the best collective that we can be. In this wilderness, it seems we all need really all the Torah we can get from as many perspectives as possible. I wind up with this conclusion because, let's face it, I was trying to find a way of reconciling these two different divrei Torah, but also because we are at the present time in a delicate moment as Jews. We are caught in between a whole lot of things right now in this proverbial midbar. Our universalistic values and our particularistic ones, our commitments to all of humanity and to our own people. We're caught in between political extremes. We stand conflicted between loved ones who hold core beliefs that are opposite from one another. Maybe even we ourselves are between two or more opinions at any given time. And in this wilderness of the in-between, if we're being honest and vulnerable, every one of us is kind of confused about where this people, our people, is headed, and individually about what our roles in this people might be. Over the past 20 months, during which the Jews have been front and center in the headlines, we've been as perplexed as ever about what it all means, divided and in pain, which only compounds our confusion. Naturally, we've sought out people who think like we do and tried to silence those who don't. But that's likely the opposite of what we need right now as we try to understand being in this collective. It may be that Judaism is really all about being a servant to God. It may be that Judaism is all about taking God to task. It may be that Judaism is 1,000 other things altogether. But the only way we're going to figure out what Judaism is, who the Jewish people are, what our values are, and where we're headed is if we have a maximal amount of Torah to guide us in this wilderness, which is to say, as many perspectives as possible from every identity and political persuasion, every denomination and lack thereof. As we move into Shavuot tomorrow night, reenacting the moment of our revelation at Mount Sinai, may we push ourselves to find our voices within our own tradition. May we push ourselves to stand there alongside voices that are very different from our own, but no less essential. And in this wilderness, may we find that the more of each other that we bring in, the closer we come to a Jewish collective that is not only whole, but holy. Shabbat Shalom.